anterior to pelvic tilt, lifting the sitting bones up to the ceiling, and then posterior pelvic tilt, tucking the tailbone under. We'll go through that 3 times, tilting forward and then tucking under. Really try to isolate the movement in the pelvis, not the whole spine moving. And then finding that posterior pelvic tilt, strong legs, lock that in place, and then bring your awareness to your shoulders. So now we're going to go into protraction and depression. So spreading the shoulder blades apart, pulling the shoulders to the hips. Keeping that sensation of shoulders pulling to the hips, we're going to then pull the shoulder blades together. You might feel like you're sinking down and then push back up, and do that 3 times. So shoulder blades together, and then spread the shoulder blades apart, pull the shoulder blades together, and spread shoulder blades apart. And then we lower down to chaturanga, and then just lie on your stomach. Come into a Sphinx pose, elbows under the shoulders, and we'll just do a few cat-cows here. So exhaling, round the back, inhale, pull the chest through, exhale, rounding the back, inhale, pull chest through, once more, exhale, and inhale, and then coming into a cobra position, so the legs are still on the floor, and let's do 3 scapular rotations here. So think about drawing nice big circles in one direction, and then reversing and going back the other way. Good, and then bring your awareness now to your elbows. Just show the front view and think about turning the creases of the elbows forward and then turning them in towards each other. So external rotation and internal rotation. Do that 3 times. External rotation and internal rotation. And then let's go into our upward dog now. So lifting the knees up the floor, pull the shoulders down, lift the chest, inhale and exhale. Going back to your downward dog, and you can just walk the dog a couple of times. And then let's look at the shoulder position in the downward dog. So you can bend your knees to start with, really load the legs, hips down, and you're going to think about, again, wrapping the shoulders away from the ears and then elevating the shoulders to the ears. And then pulling the shoulders toward the hips and then pushing shoulders to the ears. And then shoulders to hips, push shoulders to ears. And then straighten the legs a little more, still with a bit of a bend. Same thing. Wrap the shoulders and then elevate shoulders to ears and then shoulders to hips. Try to keep the elbows straight the whole time. Once more. And then straightening the legs to your full downward dog position. And again, do the same thing. 3 times. Elevate shoulders to ears and then relax shoulders to hips. Keep spreading the shoulder blades apart. Keep the external rotation of the arms. And one more time. And exhale. And then you could just walk to the front. So we're going to start off with frog jumps. And basically the idea that I've got for this class now is kind of how I started teaching before some workshops before COVID. But then since then, I haven't had a chance to teach like this. So we're going to try it again today. Basically, I'm going to go through every exercise, break it all down. And then at the end, we'll try to go through it all together. It's a kind of more like a CrossFit WOD. Okay. All right. So let's start off with the frog jumps. So frog jump, you want to be able to be in a squat position, but you don't need to have the heels down. You can have the heels up and basically just start off modestly, and then eventually you build up the height. So the beginning would just be like this, just a little hop, Just hopping forward a few times, hopping back. Okay, and then from there you start to increase the height that you're jumping. Okay, so jumping higher like this. The thing to notice is that as I jump, I'm always keeping the compression. I'm always keeping thighs coming into the chest. So just watch for a moment. So I'm always keeping this, thighs to chest. Even if I'm up here, thighs are staying to chest. The mistake most people make is doing this, lifting too high, lifting there, thighs away from the chest. So it ends up becoming a donkey kick like this. Okay, so really focus on that, keeping the knees, thighs to chest. Okay, so we're going to move on. We're going to then look at the straddle press. Okay, so straddle press walk. So what you saw me doing Upavishta, that was a straddle press, the handstand. So a good way to work towards that is called the straddle press walk. So we start in the straddle and you lean forward, same alignment. You create that hollow body shape. So shoulders to ears, hollow the chest, and lean forward, push. And just start again, just little small movement. If you can't get any movement at all, then what you can do is just get to this position where you can't do anymore, then bend the knees and do a little hop, similar to the frog jump. Okay, those of you who have got this already can work more towards this position. You can even try to flex your feet while you're in the air. So you press, flex, and then set down. So you press, flex, and then set down softly. Going backwards, looks like this. So you press, and then float back. Again, if you can't do that, you could just come to this position where you feel like you can't do anymore, bend the knees and do a little hop back. Okay, and so what we can do is we can do that same movement. So once more for beginners. Okay, yeah. All right, so for beginners, it looks like this. So you're going to set up the same position, hollow the chest, push shoulders to ears, lean forward until you can't go any further, and then bend your knees and do a little hop. And then step the hands forward, hollow the chest, shoulders to ears, lean forward, can't go any further, bend the knees, and hop. Basically, before everyone was doing the handstand kick up variation, and then we saw him doing this other variation, which was pretty cool. And then we started doing it that way. So basically it was with, instead of kicking up with the back leg and pushing off with the bottom foot, actually the bottom foot is off the floor to start with. And then you lean forward into that bent arm position, okay, which is really tough for most of us, okay? So a good way to approach it is to think about, just like when we in the sun salutations variation, where you go to a high plank and then you bring your knee to the chest, holding the knee to the chest like that, something that everyone's familiar with. Okay, so just think of it like that. Okay, so basically you're in a high plank, knee to the chest, really pulling the knee to the chest. And so the starting point would be just to then bend the back leg and hop to chaturanga. Okay, and then it's quite a big leap from that step to the next step, which is knee to chest, and then bend the elbows, try to take your head to the floor, at the same time lift the back foot off the floor. Yeah, so that is tough for sure. Okay, so there is a big difference, but that's where all those bantam drills will come in handy. Okay, and then I'll just show you the advanced variation for some of you who might want to try it. So you bring the knee to the chest, but actually the key is to really use the back leg, glutes and hamstring to lift up, okay? So knee comes in, lean forward, head goes toward the floor, and the back leg activate, hamstring, glute, and then that pulls me up.